Hey everybody, welcome to the Market Minute. Wow, we've had a busy week in FAB. We got spoilers for the new Maxx deck, which is pushing cards around. We got the Valda hero also announced and some of her promo aura cards. And we got a couple cards here that maybe line up with her, a couple cards that are just like low inventory and just I think six very interesting cards overall. So let's jump right into it. First card up here is Remorseless. I guess it doesn't really pertain to any of the spoilers that just happened, but this is high seas hype, I believe here. I've actually been on the hype train for a Ranger coming in that set as well. It is a class that does need some cards injected into its card pool. And I think other people are on that same train as well. So currently sitting at $15.43, 16 non-foils on TCG Player, 7 rainbow foils. These are the unlimited version of the card from Crucible. As a side note, not on screen, but there are 40 white borders at $12 as well for this card. You can see in the last week or so, looking at the graph, this card getting bought up very quickly. It is very low inventory. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I like to single out some Crucible cards. And generally because those Crucible cards thin out very quickly and they're worth paying attention. Our 3-month snapshot on this card, 975 is the low, 1980 $19.81 is the high. Yeah, it's right there in the middle of that right now. I think if you don't have a playset of these, probably not a bad idea to pick these up, but a card worth looking at. It is a very strong card for Ranger. And if there's a Ranger in the high seas, we get that sneak peek at one of the upcoming events that are happening. This card will go up very quickly due to that low inventory. All right, here we go. The next card is Earthlore Bounty. Had to show this one because this one went nuclear. Holy smokes. Currently, the EA is sitting at $53.94. Yeah, lots of these got bought out. Surprisingly, to me at least, there's still 34 on TCG Player. Decent amount of stock for these, right? Especially for an armor. You only need one per play set per se, right? 3-month snapshot, of course, we're sitting at $10 is the low. High sale price is $60. They're selling, a couple of them sold at this 53 or above mark. This one, again, the cold foil is going to be that collectible piece from Everfest, right? It can't be printed in cold foil again. It's an awesome card. It's one of my favorite cards, actually, just like stylized. It was one of the first micro text box cards along with Rampart in the game. So it's a very beautiful card. It's a nice collector's piece. But at $53, this one is riding some hype right now. So be careful out there with this guy. And continuing the theme of Valda pushing cards around, this one also I find a little bit interesting. Tectonic Rift, right? This card coming from Bright Lights, expansion slot card, first expansion slot. Not a lot of Bright Lights opened, so it's worth keeping an eye on. Currently sitting at $12, 28 non-foils, 13 rainbow foils. Those rainbow foils are just above $21. 3-month snapshot, of course, low $1.75, high $13. So we're sitting right at that high mark. You can see from the graph, riding the hype again. Be careful with this one, but 28 is not a lot. Again, expansion slot cards were very hard to hit in Bright Lights. Not a lot of Bright Lights opened. It could be a card that Valda wants to play, but we are quite a ways away from Valda. The hype could die down on this card. You might be able to pick them up a little bit cheaper, or maybe not, right? If that inventory dries up and stays gone, it just might be tough to see it drop down any lower, right? Also, I would like to note that on these cards, on Tectonic Rift specifically, we do know that the Mastery Pack is coming. Mostly new cards, I think was the terminology, but there will be reprints. I can't say one way or another on reprints of these Guardian cards. I'm just going to say a blanket statement. Be careful on these Guardian cards, right? You don't know what's coming, and you got to remember that there are going to be reprints in that set. All right, let's drop down to Plan for the Worst. Again, this one maybe riding the hype of High Seas. Ranger, again, currently sitting at $9.95. There's only 8 non-foils on TCG Player, 11 rainbow foils. Those rainbow foils are sitting just below $12 at $11.96. 3-month snapshot has this at 50 cents is the low, $11.99 is the high. Again, we're sitting right at that high water mark. We are living that hype cycle of high seas. But I wanted to point this one out because of the inventory being so low and just coming from Rosetta. We're like literally last set. That inventory is still low. Keep an eye on this one. Again, I think this has a potential to retract a little bit, especially if a Ranger isn't announced. But if a Ranger is announced, then it's all dependent on how playable the card is perceived to be. So keep an eye on this one. I know I always like to look at these low inventory cards, see how they play out. Maybe some inventory shows up, but a lot of the times with low inventory, it's hard for that price to go down. All right, and then jumping back to some Valda hype here, Imposing Visage from Everfest. This card, you can see by the graph here, this card's gone up, maybe come retracted a bit. Currently sitting at $9.14, 82 non-foils on TCG Player right now, 50 rainbow foils sitting at $12.99. There's a lot of stock of this card here. This card I wanted to talk about because we did see 2 auras promos from the ProQuest kit that are auras for Valda, or essentially for Valda, right? Her kit. So maybe she wants to go search those auras, put them in play, gives you an extra bit of reach with this card. Not a bad idea. Again, the caveat being we don't know what's being put in the archive pack, so we got to be careful about that. 3-month snapshot has this guy at $3.10. That was obviously before. We're going back before the Valda drop or hint, and high sale price $17.97. So this one's retracted a little bit from there already. So maybe you don't feel too bad picking them up at $9. Depends, right? Is if we get more Valda, more Guardian things, this card will probably stay high. So keep an eye on this one. All right, and our last card here is Luminaris Angel's Glow. Shout out to Hunter's Clave, right? Weapons are expensive in FAB these days. Currently sitting at $19.95. There are 9 non-foils on TCG Player, 7 cold foils. Those cold foils are at $37. So maybe a little bit of sleeping on those cold foils, especially if the non-foil is at $20 or just under it at $19.95. 3-month snapshot, we got $1. High sale price $16.90 or $16.87. Sorry. So we're not quite selling at that $20 mark just yet, but Prism hype is real. There's a lot of hype for her. She's doing well in the RTN season, so not a surprise that this card sees some push up, especially being an expansion slot card. With that low of inventory, numbers are going to start moving up quite quickly. But yeah, we got expensive weapons in FAB now, so this one can go right up next to Hunter's Clave. That's going to do it for me on this episode, guys. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, do all the do's. I'll catch you next time. Peace.